Welcome into episode 510 of the Skate Podcast. I'm Brian DeFelice, joined by Bridget Prue and Scott McLaughlin. The Boston Bruins get a 6-3 win over the Winnipeg Jets in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which I think was around 0 degrees last night as the players were entering the arena. It's their fourth consecutive win. It's their second win to start the road trip, obviously a 3-game road trip that finishes in Minnesota. We're going to get to the opening shifts. We also have a fashion segment we're going to get to as well. Yeah. My counterpart here, Bridget, in the middle of the screen. I don't know if she's going to a NASCAR race or if it's the Columbus Blue Jackets Stadium Series concept for a couple of years now. What this is, but
well,
what is?
Can't you tell this is a very European-looking jersey, right? Like it's got
there's a million advertisements on it.
Yeah, it's got it like on the sleeves. It's even the nameplate where the name's supposed to be is an ad. No, this is the U.S. Collegiate Selects jersey for the Spangler Cup, which is at the end of December. And because the commissioner of Hockey East is in charge of it, he had a bunch of samples of jerseys, and I ended up with one. It doesn't quite fit. It's a little bit big because it's actually like the real ones. Like there's supposed to be pads and everything under here, but no, it's massive on me, but I like it. It's interesting. And Scott looked it up. This is a brewery sponsor. So, but in case people don't know what the Spangler Cup is, the U.S. Collegiate Select team is like basically kind of an all-star team of college kids that they put together that are going over to Switzerland to play against like some European professional teams, like HC Davos. They're all the names of them are on the sleeve. But no, so there's a few local kids going too. Gavin McCarthy from BU is going. Larry Keenan, Jack Musa from UMass are going. Marty Lavins. What, Scott?
Couple Bruins prospects. Ryan Walsh from Cornell, Chris Pelosi from Quinnipiac.
Yep. Yeah. So there's plenty. Vinny Borghese, not a Bruins prospect, but he's from Northeastern. So like, and there's a. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm interested to see how college kids, like a group of, really good college hockey players go fare against European pro teams. Like it's just a combination of teams I would never have thought I would see playing against each other. So these are older college kids too, because the younger ones are going to World Juniors at the same time. So it'll be interesting. The jersey's certainly interesting. So I'll be watching that. I hope it's easy to find and watch. Hopefully. I mean, I know World Juniors is pretty easily available, but I'm not sure. I know that it is available somehow. I just don't know how yet. So I'll figure that out.
So later in the episode, we'll discuss if the Bruins and Lightning Stadium Series jerseys are better than the one Bridget's wearing that has a million ads. Because to be honest with you, it's pretty sad that they're comparable in terms of aesthetically pleasing uniforms when hers is a million ads.
How dare you? This is
I like the color.
It's for Europe.
Color.
Okay, it's
yeah. No, I love a walking billboard on the ice, but kind of looks like the old New England Stars jerseys a little bit. The coloring and the yeah. There we go.
I don't know what these are. I'm not sure what that. I don't know.
It looks like I feel like USA Soccer had a shield that was like a similar design as that. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking like back in the 90s, maybe. Like, I don't know, like 94 World Cup or something.
Well, these kids were not.
That's what it made me think of.
These guys weren't even alive then, so.
No.
All right, so who wants to go first? Obviously, like I said off the top, Bruins beat the Jets 6-3, an impressive win on the road, and there was a healthy body back in the lineup as well, so we'll get into all that.
Yeah, I'll start. I've already talked enough probably, but my opening shift has to do with Charlie McAvoy being back and David Pastrnak in his second game back and just what they looked like since returning from injury. And so Charlie McAvoy after the game said he felt good, even though he had to take up probably more minutes than they would have wanted him to, with everybody kind of having to get more minutes because Aspro was out. So he ended up with over 24 minutes of time on ice, and he ended up with an assist as well. And then Pastrnak just 7 points in 2 games since he came back, which is just crazy. And he did get that empty netter this game. He missed at the end of the last game, but he got one this game. He had 2 goals, 2 assists against Winnipeg, and he looked great. He's looked great since he's come back. So I think really positive news on both of them is that they both don't seem to be slowed down by their previous injuries, and they kind of stepped right back into it. And because of that, the Bruins are on this road trip, and they get guys healthy. Well, they also lose guys, but they get 2 really important guys healthy, and they win. So they're coming back to their next games in Minnesota with a chance to win the road trip, like sweep the road trip, and put themselves in really good position come, the week of Christmas to be in the race still. So they're a team that is keeping up with the other teams for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean they have the longest winning streak in the NHL right now, 4-game winning streak. And
they've been doing that.
And with McAvoy, like the ice time and the assist doesn't even do it justice. The +4 starts to do it justice. Yeah. I thought he was awesome. Like,
yeah,
outside of Pastrnak, the best player on the ice. He was everywhere. He was breaking plays up defensively. He was involved, transition, offense, making things happen. Like, I thought if you had told me he had missed a month, like I wouldn't have believed that. He looked to me like he didn't miss a beat. Remember when he got hurt, he was really playing the best hockey we've seen him playing in a while paired with Nikita Zadorov, and he goes back on that pairing. So Bridget was right about that one. I will still take it. I'm going to take half a point for Lindholm Peak also getting split up, at least to start the game until Aspero got hurt. But
overruled.
But I mean,
overruled, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, McAvoy was great, and that pairing with Zadorov looked like they just picked up right where they left off.
And by the way, in our comment section on the last video, most people agreed with me. Actually, everyone who commented agreed with me. So, just saying.
Bridget's like, there's not a soul in New England who didn't agree with me on that one.
Except for Scott.
That's fine. That's fine. You can just try to appeal to the masses. Listen, someone's got to have some interesting takes and go against the grain, okay?
Some call them interesting, some call them bad. I don't know.
Well, Lindholm McAvoy got shifts together, and I actually, like, in limited ice time, I actually thought they looked good. But anyways, my opening, I don't think that's gonna be a big part of today's episode. But
nope.
My opening shift I'm gonna use for a shameless plug, and that is the 25 years, 25 moments list that we've been doing on weei.com this week. I mentioned it at the very end of our last episode. But the Bruins list dropped Thursday. I was responsible for putting it together and writing up all the entries. Brian and Bridget each provided some feedback, reached out to a couple other people, some friends, Mick Calagio, who's like an unofficial Bruins historian. So thank you to everyone that helped me out with it and provided feedback. But that is up, and I will just run through very quickly the top 10. 10, I had the Joe Thornton trade. 9, the Zdeno Chara signing. 8, the 2010 3-0 choke against the Flyers. Again, these are just most significant, most memorable. It doesn't have to, it's not all positive.
No, and they're not.
Nope. 7, it's 2013 Game 6 collapse against Chicago. 6, 2023 Game 7 shock against the Panthers. 5, 2019 Game 7 of the Cup final, the dud against St. Louis. Then finished with 4 positives. Number 4, the 2013 Game 7 comeback against Toronto. Number 3, 2011 Game 7 win over Montreal. Nathan Horton's overtime winner. Number 2, 2011 Game 7 win over Tampa in the Eastern Conference Finals. Once again, Horton with the big goal in a 1-0 win. And number 1, of course, the Bruins winning the Stanley Cup in Vancouver, Game 7, 2011.
So, Scott, the list that you published, and including the honorable mentions, I emailed to you, I think the list was pretty spot on. Did you have any difficulty deciphering on a individual basis what exactly should qualify as a significant moment in terms of like is a whole game, which clearly according to your list is a whole game a moment? What's a moment? Can it be a game? Can it just be a one time? Because like for example, Game 7 versus Tampa Bay, right? I could see somebody being like the Krejci pass to Horton as like a moment, but obviously your parameter was like a game, which I'm not disagreeing with. But talk us through your thought process about what defined a moment to you.
Yeah, I think collectively, because we had them for all 4 teams. Rob Bradford did the Red Sox, Megan Ottolini Celtics, and Tom Carroll did our Patriots list. I think we decided that like for the sake of titling each entry, it was okay for it to be a game. And then within the write-up, we would highlight, maybe the key moment or moments. So, so like those winning goals in the write-ups are the moments to highlight. But there's like a couple where it'd be like maybe a little tougher, right? Like 2019 Game 7 against St. Louis. It's like that has to be in there, but like what would be the key moment? I mentioned the Brad Marchand change right at the end of the first period. St. Louis makes it 2-0. But like I don't know if that single moment on its own would be a top 5 moment, but like that game, just that missed opportunity has to be very high.
Yeah. Yeah, and like what the specific moment of the collapse in 2023, it's like I feel like there were so many things that led to that collapse. Obviously they lose in Game 7 and we were there. But yeah, it made its way onto the pod again. I feel like it makes an appearance like every third episode. It's like 2023 collapse. All right, we're back.
which is how it's significant and memorable.
Yeah, that's why it's in the top 10 because it's still, that one still hurts. That's, is that the most recent one on your list? That's the most recent event.
That was the most recent in the
trade.
top 10, but the Marchand trade I had number 12.
Okay. Yeah, because that definitely deserves to be in there.
And what's annoying about that 23 collapse is to the spirit of Scott's list, right? We're a very experienced fan base dating back, you can date back a century, but let's just keep it to this millennium. Like we've seen it all as a fan base. We've seen it all, right? We know a champion when we see one, a contender when we see one. We've been through heartbreak, all that stuff. So we all knew, we talked about it on this podcast going into that series. The one thing you can't let happen after this historic season is to lose in the first round of the playoffs. And because we talked about how that Florida team, they were battle tested, and the Bruins were kind of like, they weren't playing their best hockey at the time despite their record. And then but they managed to take it a step further and just make it as excruciating as possible. 3-1 series leads in the third period in Game 6 and Game 7, including the Montour tying goal in Game 7, which was just like, no one loses like the Bruins. No one loses like the Bruins, except maybe the Patriots in the big moments too. But I'm sure those lists were really fun to put together. Obviously, we're blessed to have had so many monumental moments throughout all the 4 major sports teams in Boston, good, bad, and everything. It's what makes fandom, worthwhile.
Is the Pacioretty hit, the Chara hit on Pacioretty on the list?
No, it's not. There's plenty of other Bruins Canadians moments, but no, I mean it could have been. Like I consider
that's one thing that sticks out to me is like it was a memorable moment in that like it was kind of scary and it created like a lot of tension between the two teams' fan bases because of just the reaction afterwards. They tried to bring Chara to court and like it's just a hockey play. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean that was just because of the reaction, a big moment. But I see why it didn't make the list, but it pops into mind.
And over the last few minutes, Scott has now realized that Bridget has yet to read his list, his article.
True. Yeah.
I just forget.
Thanks
no,
for reading, Bridget. Yeah.
No, I just forget. I don't have it up in front of me. I read it. I knew that you had a lot of the heartbreaking ones in the top 10. So, and they are memorable, and even though I'm sure a lot of fans tried to forget them, Scott's just bringing it back up. But yeah, there's some fun times and there's some not so fun times on that list.
I'll say this, like, yeah, the Bruins have had a lot of heartbreaking moments mixed in with obviously winning the cup and, you know, other very memorable playoff moments like the Toronto comeback. You would rather have the heartbreak than just like not be there in the first place. Yeah. And that, you know, I know like it's like sometimes that's not much consolation in the moment, but like looking back, it's like, would you rather have the 2 Stanley Cup final losses, or would you rather just like miss the playoffs more times? Like you want to be there, right? Like that's what being a sports fan is all about. And the reality is your team does come up short way more often than they're going to win. So, you know, but I always feel like it like toughens you, right? Like if you, especially like if you were a Boston sports fan before 2001, before every team started winning, it's like that was your whole life basically, outside of maybe the Celtics in the 80s. It's like, or if you could go all the way back to the Bruins in the 70s, like your whole life was just heartbreak. It's like the teams never won, and sometimes they were bad for long stretches, which is even worse because then it's just boring. Then you just don't have anything to talk about.
And you do have some injuries on here, just not that one. The Campbell playing through a broken leg. Do you have Bergeron playing through broken ribs or?
No, well, I mean that kind of lumps. It's sort of all part of the Game 6 story.
Yeah, and then the McSorley attack, and then
Savard hit.
Yeah,
Savard
yeah, Matt Cook on Savard.
Actually, no, Savard hit was not honorable mention. That was on the list.
That was
yeah.
The Savard overtime goal against Philly in his first game back was on honorable mention. But look no further to 2013, right? Like, okay, so you have the 2013 Game 6, 17-second collapse to Chicago to have them hoist the cup in Boston on Boston ice. I mean, talk about devastating fashion, right? But so that's on the list. But you don't get there without some other items being on that list, right? The 2013, to your point, Scott, about you'd rather be there and face heartbreak than to never experience anything, because along the way to that heartbreak, you had the Bergeron Game 7 winner back from 4-1 down to Toronto. You have the Gregory Campbell like broken leg moment. So like those moments led to the heartbreak, but you're not getting they all feed each other, right? So again, it's a pretty cool list, and all the lists were a cool concept.
Yeah, you had Torrey Krug exploding onto the scene in that second round, which I didn't have anything from that round on the list, and like I think that series gets kind of really overlooked, but like in the moment that was crazy to experience. It's like, holy shit, this Torrey Krug kid's amazing.
Just taking people's heads off. Scott, here's one thing I think maybe you overlooked. There's still a few days left in the first 25 years. So could something happen? Could something happen in the next however many days until January 1st?
It was funny. I was joking on our weei.com Slack because I mentioned last episode or early in the week or whatever. It was our guy Justin Turpin had the video of Zadorov chugging a beer at the Celtics game, and it's like it's got like 2 million views on WI's Instagram. It's like one of our most viewed videos, and I was like, I gotta add that to the list.
Yeah, no, not quite. If he then goes and lifts the cup at the end of the season, but and then we'll get a video of him chugging beer out of that, but yeah, I mean, hey, if they trade Swayman this week, you're gonna have to change the list. There was a goalie trade this morning, right before we.
I was gonna say, I know Brent still hasn't opened ship, but yeah, that there was a goalie trade this morning. The Oilers they got Tristan Jarry from Pittsburgh for Stuart Skinner, Brett Kulak, and a second round pick. Which like Skinner and Kulak, whatever, but I don't know that I'm giving up a second round pick for Tristan Jarry. I'm also just not a believer in Tristan Jarry at this point. So I don't really feel like that solves Edmonton's goalie issues, but I guess we'll see. They seem to think it will.
One final thought from me, Scott, on that list that you created. What was your take on one clear omission in general? Like, you had player trades, you had the 2015 draft as a whole, which makes sense because it was a polarizing draft. To this day, people still talk about it, obviously.
Wait, do you have the Hagen?
No, but beyond,
Bridget,
but
you're
Hagen's,
muted. Or you muted yourself like mid sentence.
Brian heard me. I said Hagen.
Hagen's was not on there, Bridget, but I think it's because he's yet to play in the NHL. But that kind of leads me to my question, Scott, which is, what was your decision making in terms of like, well, we're not going to include them drafting Patrice Bergeron or Brad Marchand or David Pastrnak? Is it that if you were to include those guys, they would take up like 5 spots for each of their drafts? Like, you would probably do Krejci in this, because you did the Chara signing. So I was curious, like, or maybe you were like, well, in that moment in time, you didn't know what it was.
It was bingo. It was more that, like, it's in retrospect, yeah, those are obviously massive picks, but like at the moment, Pasternak's a late first rounder.
Mhm.
Bergeron's a second rounder. Marchand's a second rounder. Like, those weren't. I mean, if anything, like, Phil Kessel was a bigger pick in the moment. The whole Taylor versus Tyler thing leading up to the Sagan pick was bigger in the moment. So I will say, along those lines, though, the one that I did consider was Patrice Bergeron making the team as an 18-year-old, which, was at the time, like, by the end of camp, it wasn't surprising because he had been so good. But going into camp, no one expected that. So I did consider that as kind of like can that serve as the, like, this is when Patrice Bergeron announced himself kind of moment, or his overtime winner in 2004 against Montreal in the playoffs? Like, so I thought about a couple of those, but they just didn't quite make the cut.
And this is not me poking a hole. I'm actually genuinely curious because I know
He hates your list.
much thought. No, I don't.
This is why you do this stuff. Like, it's
I
love it. Like, I've thought this was like so much fun to go through.
I know how much thought Scott puts into things. So in that vein, Scott, of like the in the moment significance, the 2015 draft was more like in hindsight, like as the following year or two ensued, 3, 4, 5 years. But in the moment,
I don't know that I totally agree with that. I think right away,
I'm more so asking. I'm not really giving a. I'm asking.
I mean, I think like right away, people were ripping the DeBrusk and Senyshyn picks because DeBrusk was projected late first and Senyshyn was a second rounder. Like, right away, people were upset that they took those guys who looked like reaches. Zboril went right around where he was ranked. Like, that kind of that history got rewritten a little bit where people are like, oh, Zboril, terrible pick too. It's like, he was kind of ranked right in that range by everyone. But in real time, DeBrusk and it's especially Senyshyn were reaches. And remember, Barzal and Connor, Matthew Barzal, Kyle Connor, had dropped. They were ranked higher than that. I believe Barzal was ranked top 10 most places. And those guys dropped, and then the Bruins passed on them 3 times. It's not like those guys were ranked like 16th and 17th, and the Bruins just happened to miss. It's like those were guys that in real time people wanted because they were like, Barzal was ranked, whatever they were. Like, Barzal was ranked 9th and Connor 11th in this class, and like the Bruins just passed on both of them 3 times.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that is also a moment that comes up on this podcast probably pretty often, that draft.
You're right, though, Scott. I remember where I was that draft. I was at one of my friends' houses in Southie, and I remember being on my phone watching the picks come in. And I remember that when Senyshyn got picked, I remember looking at him, and I'm like, they fucking reach way too high on this kid. So I did have that reaction, but also the trades.
Is he playing hockey anymore? Anywhere?
I think I played against him in beer league recently, but I don't.
Oh, okay.
No, that's I'm just joking. That's disrespectful.
Poor guy.
Well, but the trades that the Bruins made to acquire those 3 picks too, Scott, were significant. Like obviously,
Yeah.
Lucic, Dougie, stuff like that. So
And like those trades looked like wins, like in terms of what you got back. I mean, like getting a mid first for Lucic at that point was pretty good. And Hamilton, you got a first and second, I believe. Like that they were good trades. It's just what you did with the picks. And I will say, because I like to do this every now and then, I can go back and find it, but I tweeted at the time when the Bruins were on the board with the 13th pick, the first of those 3. I tweeted this. I said I would take Barzell, Connor, and Konechny as my 3 picks. So
you liar.
Bridget, I will find the tweet. Like I've retweeted this a bunch over the years. So brings me back to one of my ongoing initiatives, which is just make me the general manager.
Okay, there you go. That's what this is about. That's what this entire very extended opening shift was about. Scott.
That's right.
Scott's like, I've won 3 cups in franchise mode in EA, but
well, here's my question. This is why this list is flawed to me. Where is the Wahlstrom claim?
Those are fighting.
Where's the Wahlstrom claim off waivers and the Murat Husnudinov acquisition? Come on.
26th and 27th.
Yeah, I mean, I would even I would have to put the Kuzi acquisition in honorable mention. I can't crack the top 25, but honorable mention, absolutely. Okay, now that the episode's almost over, let's get to my opening shift, which is speaking of Bruins draft picks. Fabian Lysell is a player that Scott talked about Matt Barzell dropping. I think Lysell was, if I remember correctly, he was ranked 9th in among European skaters in his draft year. I think he may have been like a top 15 projection, but he fell to Boston. So that's a player that fell that Boston did pick up, and obviously we know the rest has been for him. To my last look up, he has, I think, 21 points in 20 games down in Providence. And with the Victor Arvidsson injury last night in Winnipeg, right now, I'm not so sure about this road trip because, they're going to Minnesota. But if Arvidsson's out for a long time here or an extended period of time, the Bruins are playing well. Lysell's playing well. And there's a potential natural vacancy for him to be called up and get an opportunity here. I just wanted to mention that. Like, I don't know if they're going to do it. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I know Jeffrey Viel is the extra forward right now. You could theoretically put him onto the 4th line next game and put somebody else up in the lineup to fill Arvidsson's spot. But, other than that, I think Lysell's a natural next man up, I think. And that's something I want to bring up on this podcast too. And I also think Scott may have just put into the group chat his old tweet. So Bridget, I haven't clicked on it, but was he telling you the truth?
Screenshot that. Throw that up on the screen.
Is this Photoshop?
No, that's the actual tweet. You are on x.com. Look at the date. Look at the timestamp.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
June 26, 2015, 8:28 p.m. He
kept the receipts. All
right.
Well, it's official. Scott should be the general manager. That's official.
At the time, so Scott had 1 retweet, 1 favorite, and 2 comments. I imagine that if he resurfaced that right now, it would get a lot of discourse online. So I'm sure Twitter would love that right now, Scott. But if you want to do that,
yeah, I think that had more interaction at one point, like because I've retweeted it before. I think Twitter like wipes out old likes and retweets every now and then. But anyways, just had to prove that I'm right. So, Brian, so I'm a little torn here. Like, I would be fine with giving Lysell a shot. He's certainly produced down in Providence. We had Mark Diver on, said some of his details and decisions still lacking, still not good enough. You're right, though. Like, if Arvidsson does miss time, and we don't know if he will, Sturm said there was no update yet. That would be a pretty natural spot to put him. That said, it's also a pretty natural spot to just put Alex Steves and keep him higher in the lineup. Now, I think Steves is, the last 2 games probably quieted down a little bit. But you were so willing to try to find a way to keep him in the top 6 that you started the last 2 games with David Pastrnak on, again, we can debate, but your quote unquote third line. So, you can go back to, you could go Geeky, Lindholm, Pastrnak, Middlestad, Zacha, Steves, and then, figure out your third and fourth lines from there. Get Mikey Eyssimont back in the lineup,
I forgot about him.
Until these last 2 games had played every game this season. I don't think had played himself out of the lineup. Now you were healthy up front. So he drew out. He was the odd man out. Like, I think Marco Sturm would lean towards, okay, I'm getting Eyssimont back in. Like, I bet if you gave Marco Sturm truth serum, he'd say Eyssimont hasn't deserved to sit 2 games. Now here's an opening. He goes back in. We figure out the lines from there. But yeah, I'm not opposed to the suggestion of giving Lysell a shot if Arvidsson misses time. I just don't think it's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not what they've done when all of the injuries cropped up over the last month. So it hasn't happened yet, and I don't really know if it will. I mean, especially because when Steves was called up, he held on to a spot. It could be one thing if some of the guys that were called up kind of struggled with their call-ups. Like Aspero hasn't struggled with his call-up. I know that's not a direct comparison, but like that's not allowing anyone from Providence to be called up. And then just because Steves has been playing so well, it doesn't allow for somebody like Lysell to get the call-up. And I'm sure we have some listeners who they want to see it. And Mark Diver, one of the things he said about Lysell was that he doesn't think he's going to spend the entire season in Providence and that he will end up in Boston at some point. So, is this the time? I don't know. Yeah, I guess maybe it depends on how long Arvidsson's out and how well Steves plays during that time as well.
Yeah, I mean, hand to the sky, I honestly forgot about Eyssimont in the press box. I kept thinking it was that VL was the only extra forward right now. So with Eyssimont as an option, it does make it seem far less likely for me. In my mind, it was just VL who was up in the press box. And in that scenario, yes, like Steves could go up and VL goes, whatever. But I'm not here clamoring for it. I bring it up because it kind of seems like you try to find moments where something could make sense over the course of a season, right? And it's not often where you have somebody that has Lysell doesn't have a lack of an NHL skill set, I don't think. I think what he lacks is an NHL mind. So if his mind is right, if his mind matures, then I think he has the raw ability to be an NHL forward. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So he seems to be playing better in Providence. He's producing. It's not often where his play has been good enough while aligning with a true vacancy need in Boston where they could actually use him with the team playing well. The one thing about this Bruins team is I don't think he would go into this lineup right now. And the Bruins are playing like such a team. It kind of seems like he would, not just Fabian, anybody would fall in line because the team has an identity right now. And if it didn't work out for a game or whatever, or two, then you send him back down. It just kind of seems like the stars are aligning where they could try to see how he would look for a game or two. That said, as I mentioned a minute ago, Michael Eyssimont being available, I think does dampen that a little bit too. And they're still on a road trip that brings them to Minnesota. before they come home. So if Arvidsson's not out long term, I think this is a kind of a moot conversation. If he is, I think there's still one to be had, maybe when Boston comes back home. But yeah, it's not often that all these stars align where it kind of makes sense to bring up the conversation.
Homecoming for a bunch of Bruins in Minnesota, including Lee-Imagn, Middlestad, obviously. Alex Steves was born there, but then his family moved to New Hampshire. But I talked to him before the season, like his family and Middlestad's family knew each other, like they were close growing up. I joke about this, like anytime I talk to the Minnesota guys, they all know each other. I'm like, Minnesota's a big state, but they all know each other. They're all like, yeah, we skate together in summer. We were on this team together. We played each other in this tournament when we were 13. And it has a little bit of that Boston feel, right? Like a lot of the Boston NHL players all know each other, but that is like, that's more of a Boston thing. It's like centered around Boston. The Minnesota guys, I'm like, you guys just all like meet up on ponds or like what's going on? Like, anyways,
the St. Louis guys.
That's why I always thought it.
But again, like centered around a city. Minnesota, it's like the whole state.
It's why I found it funny that Pavel Zacha, before even being a Bruin, was just randomly part of that Boston group in the summers. It's like all Boston guys, and then Zacha.
Yeah, it's because he was teammates with Jimmy Hayes, so he came up with him.
Right, yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh, do you know that Mikey Lee-Imagn is third on the Bruins in shots on goal this season?
Would not have guessed that.
No, me neither.
Yeah, it's Pastrnak 1, Geeky 2, Lee-Imagn 3, and then Arvidsson right behind. I think 1 behind him.
It's also a homecoming in terms for in ways for Husnudinov. I don't know if you mentioned him, Scott. Obviously, he was with them last year when he got traded to Boston, so he may have some money on the board for the team tomorrow. I'm sure he gets the pregame stretch, but
you think they'll give him a tribute video?
I hope so. I hope so. It's just videos of him as a Bruin. Little shoulder shake.
Yeah, shoulder shake. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's definitely a lot to get into with this Bruins team. They're playing really well. Obviously, as I mentioned off the top, 4-game win streak. Do you know that they have the most wins in the Atlantic Division? And this has been a quiet week of games for the Bruins. Only 2 games, I think. So the teams have kind of caught up to them. Nobody's played more games than the Bruins, but a couple are tied with them. And then the teams that were 4 or 5 games back are kind of now like 2 or 3. So they're getting closer in terms of games played. They're second in division in points and points percentage. So for the first time, it feels like all year, both are kind of mirroring each other. So that's good. And yeah, who thought here in nearly mid-December that the Bruins would have the most wins in the Atlantic Division?
Yeah, I mean, that they're tied for the most wins in the conference. Them and Carolina, 19. Now, Carolina's played 2 fewer games. But yeah, then I was even looking at like last 10 games. Bruins are 7-3. They're one of only 2 teams in the Eastern Conference that has 7 wins in their last 10 games. Washington's the other. So yeah, like, there's still not, everything's still too crowded together to really gain separation, but they are more than just hanging in it. Like, they are on the upper end of this enormous playoff bubble. So, yeah, I was thinking about this too. Like, are expectations changing? It feels to me like, in my mind, they are slowly, kind of gradually. Like, I'm still not at the point of being like, this should be a playoff team. I still feel like it's a little too early for that, but part of me is like, I'm at least starting to consider that. Like, is that crazy if someone said the Bruins should make the playoffs this year?
I think it's so close that, like, you could say that about so many teams because of that reasoning. But I'll put it to you this way, Scott. I'm not seeing, like, the delta between the top teams in the East and the rest of the field. It's like, am I supposed to sit here right now and say the Washington Capitals are so much better than the Bruins this year? Or is Carolina that heavy of a conference? Like, the East is so weird. I mean, the favorites we thought
Well, Brandon Bussey's the best goalie in the world now.
Yeah, apparently.
So.
Apparently. But the teams that we thought were the best teams in the conference heading to the season, and rightfully so, like the Florida Panthers, and again, they've been battered with injuries to top guys all year. Like they will not be healthy all year. Maybe Barkov comes back if they make the play, but they've been out without Kachuk to this point, Barkov to this point. So and they've been to 3 straight finals. If there was going to be a little bit of a setback for them in a given season, it would be this year. I don't expect that next year. But they're still playing some good hockey right now. But the teams that were supposed to be the favorites to win the Stanley Cup in the East are kind of like they're all out of the playoffs right now. And I'm not going to say decisively because the standings are so tight. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of this conference. To your point, Scott, like should they make the playoffs? I don't know. But I'll tell you, whatever eight teams make the playoffs out of the Eastern Conference, I'm not going to be very confident in either one of them. I would take the field against all of them. There's not one team where I'm going to be like, oh, that team's destined for the finals. Out West, it's different. There's 4 or 5 teams out West that I think are better than pretty much anybody in the East. But
the West, sorry, Britt, I was going to say the West is like, there's an upper class and a lower class and very little in the middle. And the East is the complete opposite where it's like, it's all middle class. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, everything's like right around 500 in the East, and then the West. I'm not even gonna get into it, but the Bruins are in a playoff spot by points and points percentage now, which was different when we were talking about the Thanksgiving milestone. Like, where were they? Well, they were in a playoff spot by points, not by points percentage, and now points percentage really is what's reflective of where they stand. And so, that's, your question was, are expectations changing and do you think the Bruins should make the playoffs? And I think should is maybe too strong of a word. Like, are they playing well enough to be a playoff team? Have they played well enough this season to be a playoff team? I think yes. But like should kind of implies that they are so much better than those teams that are right around the bubble there that, I'm just not sure that they are,
Well, yeah, I'll put it.
Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, I'll put it to you this way. Like, if they keep playing the way that they are, regardless of how other teams do, then I do think like they should, because if you look at their numbers, right? I mean, I'll just give you a couple. League wide, the Bruins are 4th in goals for. So, okay, teams play different amounts of games. Brian, what's the goals for per game? Okay, in that situation, they're 9th. So they're top 10 either way in goals, in goal production. Their power play is 4th in the league. Their penalty kill is 10th in the league. I mean, if their special teams stay top 10, and they keep scoring at a top 10 clip, and they keep getting goaltending, it should be a pretty foolproof plan. Just regardless of how other teams around you do, like you should continue to have results. And well, what if they get banged up with injuries? Yeah, that's been their season so far, and they're getting healthier now. So I just think that
for now,
but even when they've had injuries, like they've shown that they can withstand to an extent. And if they get derailed, if McAvoy, Pastrnak go down, okay, but like, of course, like that would happen to pretty much anybody. I just think this Bruins team is exactly that. They are a team. Not every roster in the NHL in a given year is a true team. Like they don't have the chemistry, they don't have the identity. Right now, the Bruins have an identity. So, again, the standings are so close. I'm hard pressed to say they should, but I don't see any evidence as to why their special teams should take any major steps back. Like, somebody tell me why their special teams won't play. If you want to tell me, well, their expected goals for 5-on-5, expected goals against, like they're playing above their advanced analytics, even strength. Okay, like I'll hear you out on that. But special teams is, it is what it is.
I mean, if anything, like the number of penalties drawn and taken, at some point that tends to even out a little bit. And so Winnipeg got 4 power plays Thursday night, but the 3 games prior to that, Bruins had taken 2 penalties, 1 penalty, 2 penalties. So like that had maybe already started before, things got a little shaky again last night. I will say, so I was looking at Money Puck has playoff odds, chances of making the playoffs. And the Bruins had been way down for a long time this season, like even after the 7-game winning streak. This model didn't believe in them in large part because it does take into account like advanced stats and kind of projects, stuff like expected goals going forward. But it has that started to catch up a little bit. The Bruins are now 56.4% to make the playoffs, which I haven't looked every single day, but that's the first time I've noticed that they've been on the plus side of 50%. So, another 4-game winning streak and climbing up to second in the division will do that. Now, I will say on the advanced stats front, if you're looking for reasons why, to maybe still not buy in, the Bruins are still not good when it comes to expected goals. They are at 5-on-5. They rank 30th in the NHL in expected goals for percentage. They are dead last in expected goals against, basically telling you they are still giving up at 5-on-5, a lot of really good chances and are getting bailed out by their goaltending, which, I think lines up with the eye test. Like, I do still think they're giving too much up defensively. And I'm actually curious to like ask Sturm about this because he made a comment the other day where he said something like, "I'm not worried about 5-on-5," and it was just an interesting answer to me. So I'm curious, like, what he thinks of, sort of the scoring chances against, the expected goals against still being very high, and like, do they have models that kind of tell them differently? Do they think they're not giving up that much? Or that it's, how they're playing is sustainable. Like, because that would be the people who still don't believe in the Bruins being a playoff team. I think certainly in like the analytics community, that is where they would start because the teams around them, there's some teams towards the bottom that like started okay and have really trailed off. Like San Jose is down there. Chicago's down there. 2 teams that started pretty well and everyone's like, ooh, they're going to exceed expectations. Both have cooled off a lot. Seattle, another team that started pretty well and has cooled off. Winnipeg, Connor Hellebuyck got hurt and they tanked. Like, so there is kind of there's proof in the pudding of like generally it's not sustainable to be that low in expected goals and continue to win on a consistent basis.
So let me ask you guys this, because Scott, I see those advanced analytic models pop up on Twitter all the time, and the Bruins will be first in the division or second in the division, and these models always still have them finishing bottom 5 in the league. And listen, I understand that it's based on models and advanced analytics like you're talking about. I think that special teams is a huge element of the game, and I think that's probably why like people that if you're top 10 in special teams but you're not a great 5-on-5 advanced analytic team, well, it's no mystery. Like, special teams is huge. But I will see the advanced analytics and raise an advanced intangible on that.
Piss and vinegar.
A little piss and vinegar. But honestly, the way the Bruins play, the way that they physically challenge their oppositions in all 3 zones, do you think that has an impact on the opposition's ability to convert on high danger scoring chances? Maybe, like, for example, let's say a line's out there against Jeannot, Kastelik, and Corrali, for example, or Minton, as it's been for a lot of the last month plus, and they're in board battles with Kastelik and Jeannot or Zadorov, big boys, big bodies, and that takes a lot of energy out of you. Maybe that same opposition player has a chance in the slot later in that shift. Like, do you think that maybe because of the endurance that it takes to go against these bigger bodies and the way that the Bruins compete, just takes a little something away from somebody's ability to capitalize on that opportunity to yeah, it might be a high danger scoring chance in the slot on a rebound, but they just don't have the energy to get to the rebound because they like, I wonder if that's something like, I wonder if there's a reason why the Bruins aren't great in the advanced analytic category, but it's not hurting them. Like, I don't know the answer. It's something that popped into my head as you were talking.
I mean, I think the simplest answer is that they have one of the 3 best goalies in the world. I think that's why teams aren't converting as many of those chances, because Jeremy Swayman's been awesome this season.
Yeah,
and then,
but I
at
do
the other end of the ice, the Bruins have a high shooting percentage. They're top 10 in the league. Obviously, Morgan Geekie being an elite shooter is part of that. So they're kind of at both ends. They're outperforming, I guess, the expected numbers by getting great goaltending and great finishing. So that helps. I don't know that the physicality affects it as much as that.
I like it as it's a very abstract idea because I don't think there's a way to quantify with advanced stats anything like that. But that's more of a hockey eye test kind of thing. Like, oh, do they look more tired? Like, does the opposition look more tired because they're going against bigger guys? Like, I'm sure there's something to that, but there's just no way to kind of quantify.
No, that's why it's an intangible that I raised. And Scott, you're right. Like Swayman's the biggest reason. And like of course. I do just think that. And look, there was a lot of similar Bruins players on this roster last year and they sucked, right? So I'm not saying that all of a sudden in 2025, 2026 players are afraid to, go for rebounds if Zadorov's on. I'm not saying that, but the way this Bruins team plays, they just play so hard and they don't give up any plays. I don't know. I just wonder if there's a level of there's a level at any point of like they're like when you used to play video games and like you'd have the stamina line and the stamina bar and it would get lower. I just wonder if if opposition stamina at times
Every time you get hit by Nikita Zadorov, it goes down a little bit more.
at least compared to when they play other teams around the league. Like I don't know. I raised the question.
Think about it in the playoffs, right? Like think about how many times like a team that was on paper, like talent wise, lesser than a team that was more physical, the physical team comes out on top. I mean that's
well, yeah. I mean, and it can be more effective in the playoffs because you can collectively wear a team down over multiple games. I think there's probably been a couple games recently, and Sturm's referenced this, where he's felt like opponents have gotten worn down in the third period of some of these games. Like I do think it can happen within the course of a game too. Now, the Bruins aren't exactly like world beaters in the third period. I just looked it up. They're even on the season. 0 goal differential. So it's not like they're like crushing teams in the third period, but I do think like Winnipeg last night, St. Louis, like I do think there's it does seem like to the naked eye that those teams maybe were worn down late in the game, or maybe those teams just aren't very good because they've both been struggling. Yeah, so
I know, but it's been all. I know, but it's not just these 2 games. Like it's been a consistent, like the Bruins play. Okay, you raise a good point, Scott. In the playoffs,
but they've also blown games in the third period too. You know what I mean? So it's like,
how long's that?
If we're gonna give them credit for closing games out recently, it's like, well, they've also had third period leads that have ended up in overtime. So, I don't like it. It's not like this has been happening like all season.
It's not been happening all season. They had their troubles in October, but I would just say the team has they look different now than they did earlier in the year. I mean, and you're right. Like in the playoffs, you wear a team down over 7 games. I think that's true. Like you're not playing a team for 7 games in the regular season. I will just say, when a lot of NHL teams, like there's levels to their play in the regular season. Like not the Bruins play every game like it's a playoff game. There's been a couple of games I think all year where the effort was like it wasn't there. The Bruins show up to every single game like it's a playoff game. That energy is very seldom matched by opponents in the regular season. They're on long road trips, long home, whatever the case may be. It's 1 of 82 a lot of times, and I just think that not every team it plays every game at the same level of intensity that the Bruins bring. It's a subconscious thing. I don't think teams are being like, nah, boys, packing in. I just think like sometimes you're like, this fucking team's these guys are just bringing it right now. Like that's part of it.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. Like I do think teams are now seeing Bruins on the schedule, and at the very least are thinking like, shit, I'm gonna take some hits tonight. Like I think that's happening. I'll flip that. Like, since we're in the world of hypotheticals now, like, do they risk wearing themselves down?
Yes.
Playing that way every night?
1,000%. I've thought that to myself as well. There's risk with it, right?
Because I remember even like, now this is like taking it up another level, but after it was either the first or second time the Bruins and Panthers played in the playoffs. It was the first year. It was late. It was as Florida went on that first run after upsetting the Bruins. And Paul Maurice said it was the most physical playoff series he's been a part of. And he was like, you just can't play that way in the regular season. He was like, everyone would be dead if you tried to do that over 82 games. Now, we're not quite talking about that level, but I did just kind of think of that, of like, there is kind of this idea in NHL circles that like you're not going to last 82 games trying to play super physical every night. So it's great now. It's working. And I think it has to be this team's identity. But I do wonder if there's also an effect where it wears them down or leads to more injuries of their own.
Bridget, what do you think about that?
I've been just letting you guys battle it out on this. I don't know. I guess I'll just.
Bridget, are you getting worn down by this?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go on IR. But no, I don't know. I kind of feel like I side with Brian on this. Just
I don't. Yeah, I don't think, like, when you ask that question, Scott, I think about like Zadorov and Jeannot dropping the gloves in Montreal in the first 5 minutes. I think about Kaslik dropping the gloves to start last night. Like that's not sustainable. That's not sustainable. But outside of that type of stuff, I feel like I don't think they're doing anything outside of anything crazy outside of just playing the right way. Like they're not finishing checks with like a ton of vigor. They're just finishing checks. Like they're playing the right way. But yes, I do think that can take a toll.
Like some of those guys are just stronger and bigger than other guys. Like
but I guess
most times he's going into a collision. So
yeah, I guess kind of what I'm thinking of though is like they play a style and they play games that against certain opponent, like probably against a lot of opponents, are going to turn up the temperature of the game.
Yeah.
And then like your opponent might be more physical than usual and might finish checks more. Like if you're going up against a team that's going to roll over and just doesn't want to deal with it, great. You just got yourself an easy win. If you're going up against an opponent that's like, you know what, screw these guys, like we're going to punch them back. Well, now you've got guys taking runs at you, and like again, like the whole temperature of the game has gone up, and the potential on both sides for injuries goes up a bit.
I think you're right. I just think that, again, especially on the heels of last year, and more so just going forward, like as an organization, I think it's good to if that's what it takes to build your team to one that teams see on their schedule and be like, fuck, I don't want to play the Bruins like next week, then I think it's worth it long term. I actually think that in the same breath, long term is where I kind of wonder if it has more of an impact than short term. Like I've actually, this is putting the cart way in front of the horse, but I've actually thought about like the thought about next season has crossed my mind like in the last like few days, but like I wonder if the Bruins let's say the Bruins play this way all year and, you know, they have a respectable playoff run or whatever. And then we have all these expectations for the next year. And then it's like, it's tough to repeat, like, you know, this whole thing. Like, I think it's a tough way to play day in, day out every year. I think it's one thing for one group of guys to rally around it, to galvanize around that for a year. Keeping that going forward is going to be another challenge for them. But again, that's for an episode next summer. But yeah, you raise a good point, Scott. It's a tough way to earn a living, but I think it's worth it at the end of the day to be a team that players and teams around the league know and respect. And maybe because of that, you just don't get their best on a certain night.
Yeah, I do too. And yeah, and just to be perfectly clear, like I think this is what the Bruins have to do. So I'm not even saying like they should change anything. I just wonder, like, does it last a full 82? That's all. Like in the meantime, I am enjoying it. Like, I find this to be an entertaining product. It's so much better than last year. And like, even just like hearing the way the players are talking about it, like Bridget, you off the top had a couple of the quotes from McAvoy, but he was saying like, yeah, I'm sitting on the sidelines and watching how much fun the guys are having and like watching them win. And he's like, I just want to get back and be a part of it. And he said this team's special, like there's some real camaraderie. And I think a lot of credit for, Sturm has brought in a certain culture, but a lot of credit for that does have to go to this team's leadership core too, because that resetting after last season, after what was, for most of those guys, probably the most miserable hockey season of their lives, all things considered, like to regroup after this season and create a culture and an environment that now approaching Christmas is like, it's fun to show up to the rink every day. And we have this really tight knit group that does take work. Like that doesn't just happen automatically. So McAvoy, Pastrnak, Zadorov, both Lindholms, like everyone was part of that leadership group that got together over the summer. You gotta give them some credit for the attitude and sort of the vibes that they brought to this team going into this season.
Vibes are high. And you want to know what someone said to me, or actually it was Steve Metcalf, the one who I got this jersey from, said this to me yesterday. And he was saying, and Eric Galanti, one of my other broadcast partners at Hockey East, we were having a conversation about why the Bruins look so much better this year than at the beginning of last year. And like, it came back to Montgomery not creating the same culture, right? Like it's starting from day one in training camp, them getting off to like a slow, weird training camp without Swayman. And it just kind of carried over. And like the culture was so different at the beginning of last season with a different head coach than it is now. And yes, like you're talking about give the players credit too. But I think there's a certain amount that comes from the top. And like, it's pretty evident that Sturm's parameters of like what's acceptable and what's not acceptable lets them all lead within that parameter and like know the right and wrong thing to do within like kind of the overarching message that he has. So I do think coaching has been a big part of it too.
And something else as well is like, sorry, Scott, go ahead, because I'm going to pivot slightly.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, last year it was, again, like, not to make excuses for anyone, but it was just a lot of things that were all kind of slightly off that just added up. And, like, yeah, Montgomery certainly deserves blame. The whole Swayman contract situation was a mess. And then, Swayman comes back, and we even kind of heard him acknowledge this, probably felt like he had to be more of a vocal leader than he needed to be. You had Marchand coming off surgeries and going through a contract negotiation that didn't go the way he expected it to go. You had Pastrnak coming off an off-season recovery. Elias Lindholm gets hurt day one of camp. Like Nikita Zadorov has admitted he didn't fit in right away. Certainly not as well as he eventually would. Like, you just add all that together, and I kind of said this before. I just think there were too many guys last year who kind of ended up just caught up in their own stuff of like, I got to figure out what I'm doing here. And like, there just weren't enough guys like looking out for the team and coming together, because they were just kind of splintered off into like, I'm dealing with this, and like, how can I worry about everyone else? Like, I gotta worry about my own stuff, and it all just added up to a team that's just very disjointed.
It was the perfect storm. But again, it's good that it happened, because you know what? Should that have NHL roster been that bad last year? No. I'm talking pre-deadline roster. But you know what? Their prospect system was shit for the most part, and they needed to restock the draft pick cupboard. So we're all glad that it honestly played out the way that it did.
Yeah,
But
I think like having Fraser Mitten over Brandon Carlo this season looks like a great thing.
And like speaking of Carlo, like you talked about the Swayman negotiations kicking things off on the wrong foot. Obviously, Martian hadn't needed a contract, Montgomery needed a contract, Lindholm gets hurt. But then you had players that weren't really a part of that, but also just like Carlo was terrible last year. Charlie Coyle was terrible last year. Trent Frederick was terrible last year. He's also having a tough go in Edmonton. So even players that nobody was pulling on the rope last year. But to transition it back to this group, another positive about the way the Bruins are playing right now is James Higgins. He's obviously focusing on his Boston College season right now at Chestnut Hill. But if he takes a look up from his studies to see how the Bruins are doing this year, and he sees where they are in the standings, and he sees how they play, that's exciting for him, as opposed to seeing the Bruins having a repeat of last year. Same with all the other Bruins prospects, including Will Zellers, who we haven't mentioned, but he actually got the invite to World Junior Camp. So that's good. That's a development since we last spoke. But it's good for these younger players to see how it should be before they get to Boston as well, which is nice.
Yeah, and if you're James Higgins, and you're obviously, like, he's not looking ahead, like you said, he's got BC, he's got World Juniors on his mind.
He's got a test tomorrow,
yeah. But like, looking ahead to the end of the season, it's like you might be joining a team that's playing playoff hockey, like not just playing out the string, but there's potential Stanley Cup playoff games in James Higgins' future this spring.
Yeah. I mean, he could go to 2 playoffs. He could be in the NCAA playoffs, and then he could be in the NHL playoffs, which obviously one is probably more exciting to him than the other, because he's been to the NCAA playoff before with not the best result, but yeah. But then where does he go into the lineup? Then that becomes a whole.
Bridget, that's 4.5 months away.
No,
even more.
Brian
5 months
talking
away.
about next year. Okay, Brian is talking about next season.
Oh, hey, leave me out of this. Leave me out of this.
Well, I'm not allowed to look ahead until April, but Brian can look ahead till next year.
Have you seen how many injuries there are in the NHL?
That's true.
Quickly, but before we transition, though, just quickly on college hockey, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more on Monday's episode, because Bridget and I will both be there. But Saturday night is the final game ever at Matthews Arena. BU at Northeastern. Matthews Arena opened in 1910. It's older than Fenway Park. It's the oldest multi-purpose athletic facility in the world. I think there was a time where it claimed to be the oldest indoor hockey rink in the world, and I guess like officially that's not quite true, because it had to be rebuilt in 1918 after a fire. But anyways, point is, it's very old. It's 115 years old. It's my favorite arena, so I'm glad I get to be there for the last game. But it's on Nesson. There's no Bruins game Saturday night, so if you're around, I would definitely encourage people to watch. There's going to be a ceremony before the game. There's going to be a ceremony after the game. So chance to watch history.
Where are they playing the rest of their home games?
It's split up across a few different rinks. Walter Brown, which is the women's rink at BU, Bentley. They're playing a home game in Portland against Maine.
They have a home game in Lowell against Lowell.
Yeah,
that's bullshit.
Harvard, they got a game or two there.
Could they not have pushed this until like a couple of months from now?
Well, I think that they just wanted to start construction as soon as they possibly could. So as soon as the bureaucracy, like all the permits, everything got done, they wanted to start because honestly, this is going to be a cool game. It's going to be great, but it's extremely bittersweet because obviously the building's going and it has a lot of character. Some of it not good. Some of it that's why it's getting taken down. But also like the backdrop is now what are we going to do, right? Because I heard that it's not going to be done until the end of 2028, which probably means more like 2029 could be when this thing gets completed. So it's a long time that they're going to be away from that rink, and I know that it's been hard to find a new home. Like I've heard that the current theory is instead of playing home and homes, they're just going to be playing 2 games at Vermont, 2 games at Maine, 2 games at BU. Like that's just it. They really are maybe will have to punt on the whole idea of having home games for the time being.
It's going to be tough to recruit. Hey, Northeastern men's and women's. Sorry about your rink. Here's a locker room outside Rink 5 in Marlboro if you guys want to use that for 4 years.
Well,
like, I mean, come on.
The real issue is where they practice, right? Like, because it's like an hour from the city in traffic. So, like, because
where are they practicing?
I think somewhere in Dedham.
Yeah, I think it's in Dedham.
That's brutal.
So it's just a long commute from campus to there to practice, and yeah, so it's going to be tough. That is what they've been trying to not think of until they absolutely have to. And they've had a really good season. They've got one of the best goalies in the country, actually, Lawton Zacher, who came over from Brown.
That's gonna be a tough sell for future recruits until they're in a new rink. I mean, that's who's like literally what. Genuinely, I'm not trying to be funny. You give somebody a full ride. Who's gonna want to not have a home arena, a practice rink? Like that's. I mean, I don't know. This all seems poorly planned to me. But hey, caps off to Matthews.
Right? There's no avoiding it. It was.
There's just no other options. It's
usually a lot of times people will try to construct simultaneous but there's not enough room over there.
Yeah, it wasn't an option.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like for schools that aren't directly in a city environment like that. Obviously, that's normally what's done.
Boston is such a hockey city, but I feel like they're like 2 or 3 ranks shy of like what they actually need. Like I feel like there are more. There is a need for there to be like 2 more Aganis size rinks in Boston because the PWHL needs a rink in Boston, and obviously, like we're saying, like if somebody gets displaced, like it would be useful to have, but there's just no room to.
They should just do Warrior like Stonehill did.
Warrior, I was told, would not give them a discount, and they would have to pay full price to be there by hour. And it was just too expensive.
Well, all right, maybe they can move their home rink to Raymond James Stadium, where the Bruins will be playing the Lightning in the Stadium Series. Let's quickly touch on these. And Bridget, you can pull them up. Scott, I would love to hear your opinion. I'll just say first and foremost, Stadium Series jerseys are supposed to be unique. I've never seen a Stadium Jersey series that I've liked outside of maybe the Rangers a couple of years ago. So I did not have high hopes going into these jerseys, but let's get the opinions of Scott and Bridget first.
Yeah, I think that's worth noting because that was kind of how I felt going into this. Was like, let's get a little weird. Like this isn't the Winter Classic. Winter Classic, yeah, like you better have something that's connected to history and truly looks classic. Stadium Series, I'm like, you know what? Go nuts. So, Bridget, for those watching on YouTube, Bridget's going through some of the photos, but it's like, yeah, you know what? Throw some bear claws on there. Throw sunshine rays. Throw, a new logo with bear claws going through it. The Boston Bruins on the front with like Bruins in the bear. Bright yellow. Look, do I love this jersey? Like, no. Do I? that's not the Bruins jersey, Bridget. That's a Merrimack highlighter jersey.
It's too close in color.
I don't think the Bruins is quite that bright. I think it's more. I think it's similar. It's similar to the yellow that they wore for the Tahoe game, which I loved that jersey.
Yeah, that should be their when they introduce a third jersey, that should be it. The Lake Tahoe
like
jersey.
I'd be fine just bringing that back. I think that should have been
Yeah.
around more than one season, but yeah, I think these jerseys are fine for what they are, which is you're playing an outdoor hockey game in Florida, like in a stadium with a giant pirate ship, like
Right.
like you. I'm sorry, like you don't need something that's like truly 1000% connected to the team's history. So I'm okay, kind of going a little off script with this and having a little fun with it.
I will say this. I kind of wish they went with what I'm showing right now, like the B with the claws through it as the front of their jersey's logo, rather than I'll call it like the bear from the Centennial jersey bear with Boston over it. Like I just, for some reason, when Brian posted, because in the background of the Tampa Bay video, you could kind of see this logo, and I was like, oh, that's actually interesting. Like, it still implies the bear, but it's like claws. I don't know. I like if it was just the B with the claws through it on the front rather than what they went with the Boston and the Bruins.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't have the highest of hopes for these jerseys. Stadium Series, I mean, truly, if there's like an NHL uniform database out there, this is the Tampa Bay one Bridget's showing, which honestly, like, it's I feel the same way about this one as the Bruins one, where it's like I don't think it's a good uniform, but for what it is, it's like whatever. I actually like the lightning bolts inside of the TBL and the numbers on the back, and like I actually think that's kind of like a cool touch. But as far as the Bruins one goes, like I think the yellow, if they just kept the yellow, their actual true home and away shade of yellow, I think I would have liked it better. I saw in the Bruins press release about it that it's called sunshine yellow, so it is a slight deviation from their normal yellow or gold. Sorry, people. One time, somebody came at me online because I was talking about the Bruins yellow instead of gold. It's like, sorry, gold, yellow. They're called black and gold, not black and yellow. It's like, all right, I don't know. When I think of gold, I think of like like coins in a treasure chest. That's not exactly what the Bruins wear. Or like,
Right.
or like Vegas. Like that to me is gold.
Or the Centennial, like the Centennial jerseys had gold and we didn't like them. Like,
someone literally said that they called they're like the Bruins are black and gold, not black and yellow, idiot. I'm like, sorry about that. But yeah, I think the Bruins jersey, like again, they're supposed to be fun. I think they're kind of like whatever, like for the Stadium Series. I would have liked them with Tampa Bay wearing blue. Again, in the Bruins press release, there was a mock-up of these Bruins uniforms, but in white. I like them better in white, probably, if they weren't going to do the traditional their actual yellow or gold. So the white gloves are funky. But I'm kind of with you, Scott. Like, I said online, I was like, before they were released, I said stadium jerseys are supposed to be out there, right? So give me Paul Revere riding in on Meth Bear. That would have been cool to me as a logo. But I'll take, do I like these? Do I like these jerseys for either team? Simply put, no. Are they fine for what the event is, which is kind of a unserious event? Like, yeah, like whatever.
Can Meth
Go
Bear
nuts.
Could he be wearing one of those triangle hats, like the Revolutionary War hats?
Yeah, the Bruins are coming. That's all
there we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Now,
or just like fully embrace the pirate theme, do like pirate Meth Bear.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'll tell you this much, guys. I won't be watching this game for the uniforms, but whatever. I kind of think the Stadium Series in general is kind of I think it dilutes the Winter Classic, which has already been kind of a diluted product in and of itself since the original one. But
I do wish I could go. I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, playing an outdoor game in Florida doesn't like what's that going to be like? It's different than having it at Gillette Stadium. It's different than having it at Fenway Park.
You didn't see the NHL's press release? It's going to be a roller hockey game. It's not going to be on ice.
Okay.
So yeah, no, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Well, apparently they have the ability to keep it cold enough. And you remember the Tahoe game? They had to stop because
what a backdrop that game was. Oh.
It was beautiful, but the ice was melting during the day when the sun was hitting it. So
True.
It's Florida. Like it could be sunny and 75. We don't know.
Yeah, I think they'll figure it out and it'll probably be fine. Like the ice won't be great, but it usually never is. It's weird. Like we think of this as like this new thing trying to play outdoors in warm weather. I'm like, the NHL played an outdoor game in Los Angeles in like 1991. Like Wayne Gretzky played in it. It was a preseason game, but I'm like, I don't know. We've kind of more or less figured this out, and you know, unless you get extreme weather, which you can't really do anything about, like I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you had the Kings versus the Ducks in a stadium series, which again, to my point earlier, if you can find an NHL uniform website, database website, and look up the history of stadium series uniforms, they all make you want to puke. You're gonna have to take a Tums afterwards, but and they also played a Winter Classic in Texas, Dallas, and Nashville, which was the infamous Corey Perry walk of shame. Sort of 75-yard walk of shame to the dressing room. But
did you see was it I don't know if it was Chicago. Someone tweeted out like a congratulations Corey Perry. I think it's like 1,000 games or whatever milestone he got to this season. And that was one of the photos in the montage was him making the walk. I was like, that's so funny. Perfect.
That is funny. Bridget, Scott, so the Bruins are playing the Wild. Is that on Sunday or Saturday? Forgive me.
That is a Sunday game. Sunday 6:00. So watch the big Patriots Bills game, get some dinner, and then come back for Bruins Wild.
Wonderful. Well, if you two are all set, I think we can probably sign off. So thank you all very much for listening. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday. Hey guys, thanks for watching the Skate Podcast. If you want to see more of our videos, visit our playlist.
Not in front of a screen. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment.